Welcome. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you, Julian. It's a pleasure being here and an honor to be on your show. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, I'm very happy to chat with you today. So, before we jump into the story here, why don't you just take a moment and introduce yourself to anybody who's listening?
Hello, everyone. My name is Avonley Lightstone. I am the author of Strength of Scars. I am just share my story to the world, pretty much to bring more healing into people's lives. And again, like I'm really excited to be here.
Wonderful. There was a lot of noise right outside of my house there, and it caught my attention for just a moment. So that took me away for just a moment, but I think I'm back. Well, so you wrote this book, and from what I understand, this was about a very early experience in your life that was highly impactful and significant. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I wrote my book. It's called Strength of Scars, and it's really about my life of trauma and abuse that I went through. It started at a young age of age 3 when I was in India at the time with my own family, biological family. And I lost my mom in a house fire as I was trying to save her from the house fire. And my dad, he was drunk, passed out, unresponsive, and just wouldn't budge when I went to try to like wake him up. And so I felt like I needed to do the best thing, and it was just to go hug my mom. So I had that instinct of like, what would you do if you hear a child screaming? A mother or a father, a parent would go and nurture their child, right? And instinctual, that's kind of what I did as a kid. I knew like my mom was screaming, and you don't really hear like screaming, like, I never heard my mom scream, so that was just, like, new. So, yeah, that's what I did. I went and hugged her, and she was trying to push me away, and I just hugged her tighter, and then soon the fires just kinda came up on me, and, it was from my scream that woke up my dad.
Wow. What happened when your dad woke up?
So then I was taken into the hospital, and I had to go through, like, cleaning. And so back then, I lived in a very poor area. Technology wasn't as advanced. And so I didn't have any sort of like numbing agent and numbing pain. So they put me in this gigantic bathtub, and like my body was in shock at that point. It was in shock, and my stomach wasn't like digesting very well, and I had diarrhea, and they just had to like scrub my back. They scrubbed my back, getting rid of all the debris that the fire burnt onto my skin, and that's what they had to do. And I remember that was just more painful than the fire itself, because there's a point where you just get numb when you're on fire. There's a point where your nerves just go numb, but after that's not happening, your body is going to a recovery state. And you could just feel I could feel like the oxygen going back into my nerves, and just the shock of my body was getting ready to just m- pretty much go into a healing mode. And they were just tearing up my skin, trying to get the shirt that was burnt off onto my skin. And so that was like worse than being caught on fire. And then be, I had to lay on a cot because my face and my, like the front area wasn't burned. So I had to lay flat on my stomach and just kind of air dry and wait to be healed that way. Um, and I think that was the time I felt rejection because, my mom didn't survive. She was burned all over. She didn't survive. After 3 days, she passed away, and my dad stopped showing up. And that was the time I just felt rejection was, okay, a young girl that's never experienced this, everything, like, went 360, like, completely different, and I just had to, like, be all alone by myself, recovering, healing, with nobody coming to check up on me or comforting me, and as a 3-year-old, that definitely was something I needed, and I didn't have that, and so that was
Were
really
you
hard.
all alone then?
Huh?
Were you all alone then?
Yeah, so my family in India, I had a lot of siblings, 9 total,
Uh-huh.
including myself, and so, yeah, they just kinda stopped showing up, and I don't think it was necessarily that they didn't wanna show up. I think it was just because my dad felt guilty about what happened, and I think he was just couldn't look at the fact what he kinda, like, could've prevented that from happening if he wasn't, like, unconscious and,
Mhm.
and so I think a lot
Yeah,
of that had to do with him, like, not being present, and he took that on himself, which that's not the right way to
sure.
recover. But yeah, so I was kinda all alone, and once I recovered from the hospital, I was, released to go back home, and I was really excited finally to see my family. And, I remember being in my blue underwear. I felt like Mowgli, just being in, like, blue underwear, still trying to heal my, back and my legs, and I went to, because we were Catholics, so I went to this church where we were able to pay respect to Mother Mary. I remember, kneeling down and just praying to Mother Mary, as a way for me to, like, say my last goodbyes to my mom because I wasn't at her service, and right after that moment, my dad again takes me to the orphanage.
And that was it. He said goodbye there?
Yeah, pretty much. So I was at the orphanage for 2 weeks, and then, yeah, and that time again, I had felt rejection and alone all by myself and trying to recover and trying to make sense of all this. And then I see that my dad had brought 3 of my siblings into the orphanage too. And so I was
Okay.
so excited to see my siblings, and my older sister, she was not liking the orphanage. She wasn't comprehending what was happening, and so she took us and we ran away home. We
Uh-huh.
ran away home, like, twice, and he just kept bringing us back, and I remember, thinking, like, I was just so happy that we are gonna go home, and my dad just kept putting us back, and eventually, he just took us to a completely different location, like a different orphanage,
Mhm.
and, we tried running away again, and only just to be ran into a cop who ended up taking us back into the orphanage, and that's when we kinda gave up and surrendered that we're not gonna ever see our family in India again, um,
Yeah.
and we didn't, and so we just accepted the fact that that's how it was, and we were getting ready to find our new families in America.
So you were immigrating to the States or moving to the States at this point too?
Yeah, so I was getting ready to get adopted, so I was, being put up for the orphanage, um, in hopes that I will find a family in America.
About how old are you here? Still 3?
So I was like 3, 4 years old.
So this happened very quickly.
It happened really quickly.
What happened to your siblings
So so the ones that were
in the
adopted,
orphanage? Yeah.
yeah, so I was very fortunate to have 2 of my siblings adopted into the same family.
Okay.
And then the other child was adopted. She was a baby, and
Mhm.
she was adopted somewhere else. And they
Okay.
said, "Well, your mom and dad are much older. They have a lot of kids, so we're not going to have them adopt this little baby."
Hmm.
So I got separated from them too. Her.
How's your memory of all this time? It sounds like this is fairly lucid and clear for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that question asked a lot, like, how am I able to remember so much detail? The reason why I remember so much is because when you have something traumatic happen to you, that intense, it, like, stays ingrained in you. And during the time that I was recovering in the hospital, where I
Uh-huh.
was rejected by my dad, that was the time, like, I felt like I was taking in all the memories of when I was younger.
Sure.
And so that's when, like, a lot of the memories really stuck with me with my mom and how
Yeah.
good she was and,
And how what was
my
that?
family
And how she was what?
good to us. She
Good
was a
to
good
you, yeah.
mother.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And just for clarification, what was your relationship with your dad like before the big fire incident?
So honestly, I don't remember really ever hanging out with him.
Mhm.
Like like I had mentioned earlier, we were in a really poor area and he was a painter and he was working a lot. And I think a lot of his life, like he was just stressed out.
Mhm.
And so he never really like hung around the children. That was my mom and my grandparents. We hung around them. And my dad was just like, I believe he was consuming alcohol
Mhm.
to like deal with his pain of just like the deal that he was going through and the stress.
Yeah. So fairly disconnected from an early age.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm curious when you were going through all of this, you're in the hospital, like those are all the things that are happening and you're trying to make sense of it. What was your internal experience like while you're navigating all of these major, highly traumatic, very significant experiences very early in life? What's your internal experience making sense of this?
I honestly don't think I made sense of anything. I wasn't quite
Yeah.
sure what was going on.
Uh-huh.
Because like I was mentioning earlier, like everything just changed suddenly. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
used to it. My mom was always caring for me, she's
Mm-hmm.
taking care of me and my needs. And next thing I know, my mom is like, we're burnt and she's gone and I'm alone. So during that time, I think what it really helped me was I just clung on to the idea of my mother's love. That's what
Mm-hmm.
really I believe what helped me is just the way she was, how she carried herself, and how she was able to love 9 children,
Mm-hmm.
and how all my siblings were just really close to one another. And, um, and I think that is what really helped me. Because there was no other way
Yeah.
that I was able to process a lot of this because I was still pretty young.
You're very young. I mean, like, you're still a baby at 3 years old.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you have emotional memory of this time? Do you remember any feelings emotionally of what you were going through?
Yeah, I do. I remember just being on the cot crying all the
Mhm.
time, and it just got to that point where I was just crying inward because the nurses can't do much of anything, because they have work that they have to do. They have a
Mhm.
job, and I think emotionally, I just felt so lost, confused, and what was gonna happen to me next, and will I ever see my dad again? Will I ever see my siblings again? And, just even being in the hospital, being alone was just something else. I couldn't recover the idea of what was I wasn't able to process the idea what was happening.
Yeah. So a lot of fear, a lot of panic, a lot of uncertainty, a lot
Mhm.
of pain, sadness.
And the thing is, it's not like I could run away from it
Mhm.
because how was I able to run away from the hospital? Because I
Right.
didn't know the area of geographic area of where I was at, whereas my
Mhm.
dad, he ran away. So, even though, like, he definitely coulda made changes a slightly different, you know, just being a bigger individual and being able to carry his pain, um, better for a child because a child is not gonna blame the dad. They're just going to just be grateful, like, "Hey, I have somebody to lean on." But my dad, he just was running away from the problem,
Yeah.
and just seeing me, he just couldn't handle it. And so it was just really
Yeah.
hard for me to, like, deal with emotionally, like, knowing, like, "Okay, I'm the one that got hurt." And I, at the time, was like, "Did I kill my mom?" Because, like, you start getting ideas and thoughts, like, unhealthy
Mhm.
thoughts come into your mind because you don't have anyone that's telling
Yeah.
you, "Are you okay?" Like,
You're all alone.
yeah, and so you're processing this all by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's as if the trauma of what you went through wasn't intense or hard enough. Now you're dealing with the isolation afterwards and you're a child making sense of it. I'm curious at what point, so you're talking about like your father's pain and him, having a relationship with alcohol as an adaptation to that pain. I'm curious at what point in your life did you start to make sense of these patterns in this way?
Um, so honestly, it was pretty quick. When I got adopted into this family, I just saw the different levels of so my adopted parents adopted 14 kids
Total.
in total,
Wow.
yes. And they had 3 3 boys that they had adopted before they adopted the rest of the 11.
Wow.
And so in that pattern, when my brothers, my older brothers, they were drinking and there was abuse too. And so they used substances like alcohol and even drugs to numb a lot of their pain and the abuse that they went through.
Hmm.
And so I saw that as a young child, and it reiterated what my dad went through.
Mm. So you
And
made the connection there.
yeah, so it wasn't like when I was 18 or later into my adult life, it was pretty
Hmm.
quick. I'm very observant, and that's how I learn. I observe by learning,
Hmm.
by mistakes of other people. And that's one of the things that really stuck to me is seeing the decisions that my brothers had made
Hmm.
and how it negatively affected them, and how sad the situation was because the abuse that they went through is wasn't okay, but a drinking away wasn't gonna help them either.
How old were they when this was happening? Do you know?
Oh, when they were drinking? Or how
Hmm.
old was
With
I?
when the abuse and all that stuff was happening for them, how old were they?
Oh, it happened fairly quickly too. So my 2 older brothers, they were older when they got adopted, around 8, 9 years old. So
Hmm.
they were older, they were adopted, um first they were fostered out because, their family, their their biological mom, didn't take care of the kids, and she was also a alcoholic.
Hmm.
And, so, yeah, so with my mom abusing them, It was fairly soon. But I
Your foster mom.
well, no, so she's not my foster mom, she's my adopted mom. I'm just
Oh, your
saying that
adopted mom. Okay.
yeah, so the abuse
Sorry.
happened no, it's
Mhm.
okay. It happened quite quickly. Just
Yeah.
like when I was adopted, the abuse in,
Mhm.
the home happened probably, like, 6 months after I was adopted.
So are these the brothers that you're referring to? Are these biological brothers or are these adopted
Mm-mm.
brothers?
No, I only have 2 biological sisters,
Okay.
and they were just,
Gotcha.
a year and a there's a year and a half difference between us 3.
Okay. So the 9 siblings that you have, are those biological or are those are
No,
adopted?
yeah.
Okay. So when you moved to the States into this, when you were adopted there, this is where the abuse is with those brothers. Am I following that correctly?
No, oh, yeah, I should explain this better. So,
It's okay.
the 3 brothers that were adopted, they
Hmm.
were pretty much out of the home by the time the rest of the 11 kids were adopted.
Gotcha.
So, the youngest of the the 3 brothers, he was 16, junior in high school, almost a senior. So he was almost out of the home until my parents adopted the rest of the other kids. And most of
Yeah.
them were babies when they were adopted. Others
Hmm.
were much older. Like I was 6 years old when I was adopted. I just barely turned six. My sister was 8, and my other sister was 9. And so there was a few of us that were much older too.
Yeah. So it sounds like when you got adopted, it was still a pretty difficult and rough household and environment to live in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's the sad part of it, of all this, is once we accepted the fact my dad wasn't gonna come get us and that we were alone at the orphanage, we were then groomed to be ready for the families in America.
What does
So
that
we
mean?
just pretty much getting you ready to, fit the families in America, the culture, and we had to
Hmm.
stop talking in our, native language. We had to, start, like, obviously speaking English and, start wearing things that we had to just forget our culture in India
Yeah, I
is
know
and
exactly
getting
what you're
ready.
talking about. There's a long history of that in the States with anything native of the washing away and the stripping away of everything that you were to become this new idea
Yeah.
of what the society wants. So, and that's inside me too. So I know what that feels like.
I think that's hard because that's something that we should embrace.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like, yes, in India, we were groomed to get ready for our families in America, and we saw other families that would come and pick up these orphan kids and take them home, and some of them would bring treats and gifts, so it gets you really excited.
Yeah.
They tell you like, "Oh, the families in America are really good, they'll take care of you, like, you're
Hmm.
gonna be loved." And so that's what we all, like, was like, okay, looking forward to because, yeah, the people that did show up, they were so excited, and they gifted their, new adopted child, and it was really heartwarming, and it's kinda something, I wanted and my sisters wanted, so we were like, "Okay, we can't wait for our families."
Yeah. Yeah. There was a sense of relief here and an excitement, a joy of looking forward to perhaps being accepted,
Mhm.
being valued,
Yep.
being safe.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
those. Yep.
There's such big emotions throughout this time so early in your life. I'm so curious. You didn't have a lot of support during this time. There weren't people there checking in on you, asking you, how are you feeling? How are you navigating this? So I'm curious, with all those really big emotions that were there, what'd you do with those?
Is that the time I was in India or when I
Yeah,
once I
all
got
throughout
adopted?
this time, whether it was when you're in India in the hospital or in the orphanage or when you moved to the States, any of these times, what were you doing with all these big emotions?
Honestly, I I leaned on God. So I was very fortunate to be adopted into a religious family.
Hmm.
And that is what really helped me is I was I learned about God and knowing, hey, you can pray to God whenever you want. Um, all this, all this jazz. And that's what I took in. And so the religion that I grew up in was LDS. And I remember thinking like, okay, the biggest key takeaway in the LDS community that they push is your family's gonna be together forever in the afterlife, and I remember thinking, "Oh, that is so cool, like, I wanna live together with my family forever,"
Hmm.
but the way I was seeing the patterns of what my mom was behaving, like, she's not being that Christ-like person. And how can you abuse people and still have an eternal family?
Hmm.
Like, that stuff wasn't processing well with me, and there's just a lot of things in the religion that didn't even process well with me at a young age, but I took away just the key points that really I knew would help me, and that's one thing is knowing that God existed and that he would you can pray to him and he'll listen and he won't judge you. So I took that to heart and I cried many times myself to sleep praying to God. I went out into the field all alone and just hey, is God there? And just like trying to make that connection or I'd talk with my because I grew up on a ranch. So my family owned a lot of land. So I was able to have a lot of like cattle, horses, farm animals. And I talked to them and I even preached to them. And that was like, that really helped me in many ways. It's like I would preach the things that I wish my mom was. Does that make
What are you feeling right now when you tell me this?
like I'm just feeling like I feel good because during that time it felt good. Like, that is how my mom should have, like, raised us,
Mm.
and she wasn't that way, and here I am, a little child, like, preaching to the cows, um, and opening up my scriptures and telling them, like, "God loves you," and it was actually more for me than it was really for them. It was just I guess that was just how I was healing.
What was it doing for you for this healing?
It was helping me to build this relationship with God and build
Hmm.
this trust with Him. That's what it was doing. And it was also, I was building this trust with God as I was healing the internal damages that was happening. Even though I wasn't making any sense of it,
Hmm.
like y- taking any sort of action, just talking, communicating with God, because there's people that don't believe in God. And that's really hard. And I would just say, like, even having somebody to talk to, whether you don't believe in them, just knowing that there's something bigger out there makes such a big difference.
So you weren't totally isolated. There wasn't, from the beginning, there was difficulties in terms of having people to talk to, but you found a connection inside yourself or I don't know if we would consider God to be out or in, but this
Mhm.
connection to God. So there wasn't total isolation here.
No. Like, physical isolation, I would say so. There was,
Yeah,
more
of
physical
course.
isolation, but internal isolation, and I think this was what was a blessing for me, is being adopted into a religious family and
Hmm.
knowing, "Hey, we went to church every Sunday." That was that was what was helpful to me, is knowing, "Oh, yes, the takeaway is I can pray to God whenever I want, and He understands what I go through, my feelings, and I can just pour everything out on Him." And I
What are
did.
some of the things that you would pour out onto him or share with God in these situations?
Um, a lot of times, especially when I was really young, there
Hmm.
was times where I would tell God, like, What's the big purpose of saving me?" Like, I'm just a young child. Whereas, like, I wish I was the one that was burned from my head to my toes, and in 3 days I was gone. That would have been nice. Whereas my mom, she still had so many children that she had to raise, and, like, her absence affected the entire family. And so, yeah, those things I question, like, maybe she coulda helped my dad. Maybe they coulda coped better, you know? There's just a lot of things that
Yeah.
I, like, talk to him about.
What emotion is that right there, do you think, that you're expressing to God? This, why save me and not her? Should have been the one to survive. What's the emotional experience that you're communicating here?
Um, just I think I'm not quite sure, like, the word for it, but just trying to, like, get an understanding of, like, how God plays a role in our life,
Hmm.
and just questioning. And I think during those time when we're questioning is when we're actually gonna be recovering.
Hmm. Of course, because you're acknowledging something exists inside of you, and you're expressing it to somebody whom you believe is not going to judge you for having it.
Mhm.
So this is very transformative and can be very healing. And I'm curious, when we're saying things like, why save me? Why not my mom? 3 days of suffering and then that could have been it. That could have been nice. Is there no anger here?
Um, I didn't have anger at that point.
Uh-huh.
I was just confused. I
Yeah.
believe I started getting anger,
Uh-huh.
later into my life as a teenager, as I continued to have the abuse after abuse, and seeing, like, how my mom, she is portrayed as this really good person in
Yeah.
society, and, in the home, she was a monster.
Yeah.
And so I think anger really started to form in many ways when I started getting older.
Okay. So in your teens.
Because it's like, that's when I started getting really upset with God in many ways. Like, I wanted understanding. I wanted answers. Like,
Yeah.
tell me, why am I here? Like, I really need to know. Like, if you placed me in, like, w- I was groomed in knowing that I'll have a really happy family, but I didn't go there. I was then put into a family where abuse continued, and that was normal. And it
Yeah.
wasn't only me, it was many others. Like,
Right.
what's the point? And so that was like the question that I kept asking. And
What were you doing with that anger?
um I actually threw it at God, like almost like a punching bag when you're punching
Hmm.
something. There was a lot of times was suicidal
Hmm.
from a young age and into my teenager. And during that time, I really started saying, like, okay, there isn't a purpose for me. And this pain is so much to bear. I can't do it. And I would consider taking my life.
Yeah,
And a lot of like
of
time
course.
process would come into my mind, like evil thoughts of how to take my life. And oh, I grew up on a ranch. We had guns. We had all
Yeah.
sorts of machines. There's so many different ways that you can like end your life. But every single time I would actually end up doing it, there would be this feeling I would get.
Doing it?
Yeah, like I was getting ready
Okay, so you
to
were taking action to end your
attempt.
life.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh. There was this feeling that would tell me, like, why would you let her win? You
Your
will never
adopted
know.
mother?
Yeah. Why would you let her win? By you taking your life, she might not miss you, but you might not know your future. Will you have kids? Will you be able to help somebody? You won't ever know if you take your life. And this is when I was in like sixth grade. I was thinking this way.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking like, whoa, yeah, I don't want my misery to make her happy. So I'm not going to do it. I will stand up and I will fight even more. My dad,
Yeah.
on the other hand, sometimes he would show up because my dad was a really good person, my adopted dad, and he showed a lot of love to his children. He wasn't the one that wanted kids, because like I mentioned, he raised 3 kids, and there was abuse in that home from my mom. And he grew up with really good parents that were very nurturing and kind. And I think there was a lot of like guilt behind him not wanting any more kids. He didn't want any of the kids to go through that. So he was against adopting all these kids. But because my mom was with my dad during the time that he was trying to earn his life of being a rancher and she stuck with him, he just felt like obligated, like, no, I can't. Like, I need to give back to her. Like, she stuck with me. And my mom wasn't very, like, kind to my dad. She manipulated him hardcore
Yeah.
and used his ranch as a threat. Like, I'll take your ranch away, and I'll take everything away. And he worked so hard for it. And yeah, and even though he didn't want us, and he's expressed it, he's always had told us that um, he loved us and that if
Mhm.
he were to do it again, he would end up adopting us. Um, and so yeah, there's times when he did come into my life when I was hitting rock bottom, and I remember I was like, I see gasoline, and I'm like, I'm gonna chug this, and my dad's like, "What are you doing?" And I told him like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth being here, and I don't feel loved. Everybody hates me. And he just had a way of just like comforting us. He was really good about letting us know he loved us and said, "Hey," he would call me fatty because I was so skinny. Um, but it was just a nickname that he gave me, but he would call me fatty and say, you know, um, "It would be ashamed if you took your life because you are someone special to me and you are needed here. And just don't let her get to you, and just remember who you are. Like, if anybody loves you on this earth, it's me." And I think at that time, I just needed to hear that because people need to feel like they belong. belong to someone,
Yeah.
right? And just knowing, like, my dad wasn't lying. He never lied about that kinda stuff, and he was very truthful, so I knew that what he was saying was the truth, and I I knew, like, I didn't want to put him through that pain. He was already going through a lot of pain of just trying to survive even in our family's dynamic, um, and trying to figure out how to help our family, but also he never felt like he can come home
Hmm.
because there was always chaos. He didn't wanna be a part of my mom's
Yeah.
chaos.
He was in it just like you were.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a mental abuse.
Yeah. I'm noticing an interesting dynamic that you're describing here, which is something that really helped you early in your life multiple times, which is this. It seems like, you tell me if this resonates or if I'm missing the point here. Seems like there's a belief here, a core belief of taking care of other people's emotions, being responsible for other people's emotional experiences. And here, in this sense, with your adopted father, this desire to take care of his emotional experiences actually saves your life.
Yeah. So I think that was ingrained in me at a very young age with my mom.
The
See,
belief,
yeah,
yeah,
I really with my biological mom.
yeah. Of course, when you saw her in the fire, there was this
Mhm.
belief: I have to take care of her.
Yeah,
I have to
because
save her.
she took care of us.
Hmm.
So, like mentioned earlier, I'm a observer. I
Hmm.
watch, and that's how I learn quickly, is
Yeah.
observing. And I watched my mom. I watched her how she took care of other people, as other of my siblings, getting them ready for school, braiding their hair, making sure they had their food. She was doing like tasks, and she was a caretaker and she cared for their emotions, and I think that's where, um, I took that because even my older sister, she was that way. Um, my older sister, she had a really hard time, um, with my mom, and I think that it was it was my older sister that triggered my mom to start becoming very abusive, like super abusive. Because my sister, who was 9 years old, she's like, "You're not my mom. You're not my mom." Rather than, like, trying to comfort her and helping her out, she just pushed her away, and every time my sister would call her out on that, I would get punished. I would get abused. And so
Yeah.
it was hard.
What's the message you got there then? Anytime your sister communicates, expresses boundaries, then you get punished for it. What do you internalize from that?
Oh, it was I had to learn how to survive at that point.
How old are
It
you here?
this was, like, probably, like, 6 and a half, 7.
Oh yeah, your whole life is survival at this point.
Mhm. But this
Yeah.
is, like, a different kinda survival.
Hmm.
It was because the structure that my family had, there's the scapegoat, there's the golden child, and then there's what I call, like, the filler kids that are trying to get my mom's love and attention.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember, like, when I started seeing the patterns when my sister would reject her, I would get in trouble, and some of the abuse was horrific, and I didn't like that, and I didn't think it was okay. Like, how could you, like, take your problems out and dish it on someone else? Like, that's not fair. It just didn't make sense to me. And so I I became very, like, shy, reserved, and made
Yeah.
sure that I wasn't kinda, like, sticking around because I did not want to partake in any discipline of the action of my sister. But
Yeah.
honestly, my sister was not being a bad person. She
Of
wasn't
course.
causing a problem.
Well, you both, everybody in this family is dealing with tremendous pain. And these patterns of abuse are just outward expressions of the internal pain that you're carrying around. So, like you mentioned multiple times, like your dad drinking was because of his pain, and the abuse that your mom in this situation is putting out is a reflection of the pain that she carries around. And as kids, we adapt to it however we can. So, your sister got very, sounds like outspoken and
Mhm.
was the anger of being treated in an abusive way was kind of bursting out the seams. And then you get punished for it. So then you adapt to that pain in a certain way. And what you said here, it sounded like, is you made yourself small. You didn't want to
Yeah.
stick out much.
Yeah, I did not wanna be seen. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
it's like a doggy with its tail in between its leg and trying to
Sure.
keep down like, keeping the lows and
Yeah.
making sure, like, you do absolutely nothing to get hurt. And
Yeah,
so,
of
yeah,
course.
during this time, I ended up going with my dad on the ranch and working out with the cattle. I love that,
Right.
and that was another way I released a lot of, like, sadness, is I was able to escape that problem because I felt like my house was holding a lot of, like, negative energies and
Sure.
not
Yeah.
not a place of recovery. And
Yeah.
so when I went with my dad and my dad had a worker handyman that worked with him, I went with him and we just either branded, chased cows, fixed the fence, changed the pipes, we just did everything, and I loved it. My
Yeah.
sisters and I, we loved it, and that's we would get up super early, and get ready to go out with my dad because my dad would just get up early because we knew, like, as soon as my dad was gone, he wasn't coming back for
Yeah.
until the end of the evening.
So this is another way that you modeled the behavior of older or other people is you saw that your dad was getting away from this abusive household and going out and working in the on the ranch. And so you
Mhm.
jumped out there and started doing it too. It was a way to get away from all of this pain in lots of
Yeah.
ways.
And yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of people, like, cope with it differently.
Hmm.
And, like, the way he always mentioned it, which really ingrained me, was he he didn't ever really care to go to church, but once he had kids, he wanted to set an example.
Mm.
So he started going to church, but he always said, like, "My church is out on out with my cows."
Yeah, sure.
I like to connect with God that way because I know, like, God wants me to take care of his land,
Hmm.
and this is my task, is I'm going out and taking care of his land, his and I remember, like, when he was saying that, I'm like, "Wow, that's a way I can be able to feel like I'm part of something."
Hmm.
You can take care of something and feel good about it. You don't need to, like, be around someone that's going to taint you, bring you down, um, because it's not gonna help you.
Yeah, this is a way for you to find safety and value.
Mhm.
You're giving sermons to the cows
Yeah.
and it feels great.
Yep.
Yeah.
But eventually, that was taken away from me. So any fun thing that my mom ended up seeing that I enjoyed
Hmm.
was taken away. And so pretty
Yeah.
soon it became apparent that I couldn't hang out with my dad because and the way she did it was mental abuse, like, "Hey." It's so bizarre. Like, you're doing things with your dad or with, my dad's helper, which he would never do anything, he would never touch. He was like a dad to me too, and
The
I
helper.
trusted him. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a good man. He was rough, and my dad hired him because, he had a rough life too, and he was on drugs, he drank, but my dad gave him a chance.
Yeah.
And he really never harmed any of the kids, and he was just really good. And, I learned a great deal from him, that you can still there's some rough rough people out in the world, but some of those rough people are the most kindest, pure people,
They can be, yeah.
yeah, in life.
Yeah. A lot of people who get wounded either become very small and gentle or become very
Mhm.
big, aggressive, and grandiose. And you're seeing both of
Exactly.
those spectrums here.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was really I was really sad when my mom started saying things like, "Oh, yeah, everyone's talking about what's going on with you guys." I was a little, and even though I knew,
What do you mean a lot going on with you guys? What's she
well, like
implying here?
sexually,
So
sexually.
that's the abuse right here. Is she's trying
Mhm.
to manipulate the situation to make you guys out to be perpetrators.
Yes,
I see.
exactly.
Okay.
And I, um, I remember exactly.
How old are you here?
I was in 7th grade at this point.
So you're like 12?
Yeah, 12, 13 years
What an
old, yeah.
accusation to make to a 12 or 13-year-old, huh?
Yeah, and it was really sad because, that really ended up getting me in many ways because I really cared about my image.
Mhm.
I didn't want people to think I'm, like, this awful person even though,
Yeah.
like, I'm always constantly trying to fix my image from what my mom had, like, talks to other people about. And so I was always trying to perfect myself. Like, no, my mom thinks this is this of me. That's not how I am. Everybody thinks this of me. That's just not how I am. But I had to like step it up even. Like it was a lot of work of like trying to make sure that my image was good because that's who I was. My image was good because that's how I carried myself, and I wanted people to see the good side of me because that's who I was. But my mom kept tainting my image, and something's so wrong, like, "Hey, you're having sexual desires and doing things with your father or this guy," like, that is so disgusting, like, I wasn't even thinking about that kinda stuff at
Yeah.
that age. Like, that's not what I wanted. And, um, and my dad and this other guy never did anything like that to me.
What are you feeling right now telling me about this?
Well, I'm just really sad that that my mom would be able to use somebody else's image just to put someone else down, but
Yeah.
also it affects their image. It
Yeah.
taints their image just to lift hers up.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
those are the things that are happening though, but how does that make you feel?
well, it makes me feel angry,
Yeah.
like, because it's not
Of
okay.
course. Of
It's
course.
it's not okay that somebody can make false accusation
Yeah.
to, like, myself
Yeah.
and to my dad.
Yeah, of course you cared about both your dad and the helper.
Mhm.
And here your mom tainting or defaming and slandering and accusing and manipulating you and the situation, that's a threat.
Yeah.
And when there's a threat, we usually feel two emotions: fear, because it's scary, the thing that's happening, and anger, make the threat stop. So it's totally natural to be angry about this because it's threatening.
Yeah. And it was threatening because it was around that time my, mom was getting I don't know what her deal was, honestly, but I remember seeing this note down in the basement, and it said my name and my 2 other biological siblings' name. If, if mom and dad ever gets divorced, it's because of us 3. It
Yeah,
was
so you
around
get
that
blamed.
same time. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
was around that time that was really confusing, and when she brought that sexual stuff, I'm like, "Well, does she really feel that way, and is this really gonna cause a divorce? Because I don't like, she said it I would be the cause of it, and I don't wanna cause it, which means, like, my dad would lose his ranch and, I a lot of, like, things would crumble down. And I really took and analyzed a lot of this in my mind, and it just got to that point where I had to choose, like, do I continue to, hang out with my dad and this helper, or do I,
Uh-huh.
give in to my mom
Yeah.
because that's not what I am trying to do, and I also really did care about my mom's feelings, and
Of
if she
course, you have the belief of taking care of other people's emotions. And she
yeah,
sees that,
yeah, she
and she's
does.
very aware of it, and she's exploiting it and manipulating it.
Yeah, and so I ended up at that point, I never hung out with this helper again.
So you disconnected from him.
Yeah, and
How
it's
did that
really
affect you?
it affected me, like, in a not so good way because generally I am a good person and I
Yeah.
don't want to, like, leave a relationship knowing that it was, like, hard or, like, not knowing something happened, and it was like, I just stopped, I just cut it off because my mom wouldn't let
Wow.
me. I tried a few times, she just wouldn't let me leave, and so
What are
I
you
would
feeling telling me about this now?
um, I actually feel more for him because he has no idea
Yeah.
what had happened, and I
But what are
wish
you
I could.
feeling?
Um, that one's not really hard. I, like, feel like I'm responsible of the distance that
Uh-huh.
happened,
Yeah. I'm
and
responsible. It's my fault.
yeah, like, it is my fault, but I know it's not my fault,
Hmm.
but I
Intellectually, at least, right?
mhm. So when I play I think of, like, what this helper is probably thinking, like, "Oh, we used to go out every single day, and she would come help me, and she would help me drive the truck and, all
Uh-huh.
sorts of stuff to a complete stop." It's like, what is he going through? And a few years ago, when my dad died and passed away, I was going to go and talk to him and just
To the helper.
yeah, yeah, just talk to him. He was there, and I was really excited because at that point, I had forgiven my mom, and I went through a lot of forgiveness and, healed my own journey, and so I was ready, like, "Okay, I'm gonna go talk to him because he I feel like he needs to know what had happened."
Yeah.
So as soon as I got up, and went over to talk to him. My mom sees me. She steps up and she hurries and walks towards him and starts talking to him before I could get there.
And what happened?
I wasn't able to talk to him.
Uh,
That was the end of that. And so,
your voice
um,
is cracking a little right now. What are you feeling?
um, I know that it's gonna happen. Like my story is gonna help impact a lot of people, and it's already helping many
Yeah, but what are you
people.
feeling?
What am I feeling?
Yeah. When you wanted to talk to him and your mom, again, same pattern comes in and blocks it from happening. How did that make you feel? And what are you feeling when you tell me that?
Well, again, it makes me feel like she's always keeping me from, um, working out my
Uh-huh.
problems or healing or even
Yeah.
just allowing truth to come out,
Yeah.
and that is what really pisses me off
Yeah. So
is
anger.
yeah, again, yeah,
It
it is
makes you angry.
anger.
That's one of them. Yeah. The anger's definitely there, but it sounded so sad. You really wanted to see this guy. You really wanted to talk to him and tell him what happened, and then denied, blocked, couldn't do
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot of sadness because,
Yeah.
um, the time that we had together was really good. He was, like
Yeah.
I said, like a father to me. He would never do anything.
At a
And
time where you weren't very safe, at a time when you
mhm,
didn't have a lot of people that were safe and were able to respect you and to respect boundaries and see you as an individual and treat you with respect and value. This was something that you haven't had a lot of in your life, and now you have it, and it's going to get taken away from you.
Yeah, and really there's gonna be people in your life when it comes to, like, healing journey that they're gonna step in, like what my mom did,
Hmm.
and cut you off because they know exactly. They're masterminds. My mom's a narcissist. She's really good about, like, making sure that she is aware, she has the best image, and so and she has the favor of a lot of people in my community where I don't. I'm just a child. I'm her
Yeah,
daughter, and I would always get so, like, my sisters, they've complained to the bishop, they complain to the bishop of my church, they complained to, um, the police officer and about what was the abuse that was happening, and they never got the help. They were
of
just,
course.
"Whatever, nothing's happening," because they know them,
Yeah,
and they know my mom,
yeah.
and they say stuff like, "How can you be so ungrateful? Like,
Hmm.
you had a
Gaslighting,
yeah, you had a second chance in life,
and it's your
and
fault.
you should be grateful that
Hmm.
you're even in America." So stuff
Yeah,
like that, and so I remember, like, hearing this, knowing, like, "Okay, nobody's gonna, come to rescue me.
yeah,
They don't care. So I have to, like, try to survive this, and I'm just gonna have to, like, wait for the waters to calm down." And so, yeah, it was just really hard. I really wanted to, like, give this helper a chance to heal, you know?
and yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted the truth to be out. Even I know that he knows, but I wanted him to hear it from me.
Yeah, and you wanted him to hear it, of course, but also to be able to voice it.
Mhm.
Just like
Yeah.
when you were preaching to the cows, it was for you too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
What's your relationship with your mom like these days?
Um, so I've never had a relationship with her. I've always tried. So I wrote 4 books. The second book is called Letting Go. And that book is really about when I got married and I look back in my life and I realize the things that happened to me as a child was abuse because I didn't have the name for it.
Yeah,
You
it's
you're
just
not taught
normal.
those things. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is so when I was pregnant with my daughter, I realized I had to really do some core healing
yeah.
because there was some triggers that would come out of me that was really upsetting.
Hmm.
And I knew, like, I had to heal that or else I would probably it's a generational I didn't want this to become a generational,
Yeah,
thing that I put
they
on my
spread
child.
through you onto the next generation.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I was willing to, like I wanted it to end with me.
Yeah,
So I did, like, really intense healing at that time, and during that time, I went to my mom a few times. She would not let me come visit, um, a lot of the times, but I remember, like, going to her and asking her, like, "Hey, we should really start all over, like, all the family. Let's, like, just put everything aside, drop everything, and let's start new. Because all my siblings, they were getting married, they have grandkids, and we're kinda all close together,
yeah,
and I wanted all the kids, our our kids to be close to each other, and just have, like, a really strong family,
yeah. It'd be
and
nice.
yeah, and I told her, I said, "Look, we can drop everything that happened, and forgive each other and move forward, or we can continue going down this path and it will divide and crumble.
And what
And
happened?
she just like dismissed it.
Same
I
path.
Yeah, and she would just say things, just to make you feel, like, nice and fluffed, "Oh,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you for," like
Buzzwords.
yeah, but it never really helped, and instead, it actually ended up pushing us even further away, and I
Yeah.
attempted to, like I talked to her 4 4 or 5 times on this core issue, and I told her I was adamant, like, you say like, we grew up in the LDS church where family's gonna be together forever, and I had left the church, at this point, but I wanted to drill her, like, if you want a good family, it needs to start with you." Um, and so, I was expressing that, like, I I respected that she was still in the religion, and so I was using their doctrine to
Mhm.
her and helping her to understand, like, it's like God wouldn't be happy with that.
Yeah.
So, but God is loving, He's forgiving, and so we can like work together and just and let that go and just move forward and work towards a better future. And like I said again, she refused. And at this point, I was really upset. I
Yeah.
remember like talking to God, asking Him again. It repeated itself. Why why am I here? Like, what's the point of my life? Because a lot of things was holding me back.
Yeah.
And, I said, "Look, I still have suicide tendency, um, and I can't do this because 'cause I'm a mom, and I have to, like, this mental health issue was getting the best of me, and I needed to recover, and I needed to be solid for my children." And so this trauma of my life, past life, was really affecting me. And I told God, like, look, I did everything you asked of me. I forgave her. Like, what else am I supposed to do? Like, keep forgiving her? And the answer I finally got was no, you did everything that you absolutely needed. You did what you needed. You took action and you forgave her. Now come to me as if I was the mother. Come to me with all your excitement you wish that your mother had, and share your desires, share your stories, share your sadness in your life and the accomplishment. Just come to me. Your parents, pretty much failed you, and don't see them as like the parent anymore because they also have their own life and their own journey path. And you can't force that person to look at your point of view. You just can't. And so he's like, I have to honor them and their choices that they make. But since
Mhm.
you've done it and you're trying to be better yourself, like like nudging, set them aside, let them handle their problems, and focus your direction on raising your children and developing a stronger relationship with me and healing this.
That's
And
right.
so I surrendered. I surrendered everything to God. I said, "Okay, I'll let that happen." And when I did, I no longer had um tendency of taking my life, suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
It was like completely gone. And I'm able to handle a lot of this stressful events that come into my life because, things you're gonna still have hiccups. I you're gonna revision a lot of things that still affects you in your life, but you're
Yeah.
able to cope with it better.
Yeah. Well, if your peace is dependent on somebody else's behavior, your
Mhm.
mother, for instance, changing the way that she interacts with you, you're never going to find it because it's always in her hands and we know how she manipulates. And I
Yeah.
don't think that she, even if she wanted to, I don't think she has the capacity to make the changes that you were asking.
Yeah,
But when you can let her outcome go and take care of yourself, in other words, you set boundaries and you say,
mhm,
That's not my responsibility anymore. I'm not responsible for you. I'm not going to try and change you." Oh, how
yeah.
freeing.
It is so freeing. It really is, and just the weight I think when we're, like, so codependent on somebody, like, even sudden that codependent when you don't value yourself or even see
Mhm.
the power within yourself of who you are and who you can become and the person like you're an individual self. And if you can't see that independence in yourself and you're codependent on someone else, that really holds you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm
So,
curious then, what do you do with, because there's still emotions here and these experiences from the past, they still exist in some ways.
yeah,
So
they
I'm
do.
curious, what's your relationship with the past, these experiences, these patterns that keep coming back, these old wounds? What do you do with them today?
I have a different way of seeing it.
Uh-huh.
Now I see them as a tool, a story, like, they there there's scars that we went through,
Mm-hmm.
that I went through, and they tell a story, and, yes, y people are not gonna fully recover because it's our story, that's who we are, and having those emotion is really what help us to know, like, if how to better handle things in our, like, present life, in our future life, and it it's just it's a tool to help us to not be the monsters that treated us, and it also helps us to go back and nurture that child that didn't have that love and care. Gives us a chance to, like, really reflect on some of our past because there's things in our past in different angles that come up that we didn't even realize was a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And so we got to go back and, redefine the healing again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's just a really like uh a different like I'm really grateful that I went through this because I get to share this story with people and
Yeah.
I get to help people, find their own voice, find their own strength. Like, hey, we don't have to allow these abusers to take our power,
Sure.
you know? And just our stories can also help abusers in many ways.
Yeah.
And they can heal from their trauma because a lot of times the abusers, they abuse because something happened to them.
Of course, they learned it from somewhere. And this
Hmm.
is that pattern that we've been identifying of helping and taking care of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still here,
Yeah.
very strong. It's not a bad thing,
It
but
isn't.
also you got to take care of yourself too, first and foremost,
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I've had to learn is nobody's responsible for your healing.
except for
No
you.
one is except for yourself.
That's right.
Like once you make that decision of who you are and what you want to become, you have to take action. And this is where in my fourth book, I write more about like the um, different types of abuse. And I use this I shed method. It's just a step-by-step process from helping people go from old to gold.
Hmm.
So what they're doing is they're identifying the pinpoints of the traumas in their life, recognizing it, and then they're just having this strength, like knowing that you survived it.
Yeah.
You gotta acknowledge it. Like the fact
Hmm.
that you're still alive and you're looking back, that says everything. You survived it, and that's something you should acknowledge, and
Of
that should
course.
give
And
you,
celebrate.
hmm and that should give you the hope to ignite something in you. Like,
Yeah.
what do you hope to become? Do you want to live in misery? Or do you wanna feel like you made a change within your own self? Do you wanna cut off that generational, like, traumatic,
Yeah.
um, problems that keep occurring generation after generation? Or
You're
do you wanna
talking
stop?
about you're talking about liberating yourself, using this as
Mhm.
a tool to liberate yourself and shifting from
Yeah,
victimhood to empowerment, becoming
exactly.
the person that you needed that you didn't have, who's going to come and rescue you. And it's you.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And, once you have ignite that little hope in you, like, I don't care if it's tiny amount, that little hope is gonna make a big difference because
Yeah.
any small changes that you make in your life is steps towards something big.
Yeah.
Like, you can't accomplish something big without the small steps.
Of
The
course.
small steps makes just as big difference than those big steps.
Yeah. I hear
So
you.
yeah, that is that I use the I shed method because you are identifying yourself, the I, and
Hmm.
I'm doing it, and then shedding. You're shedding and cleaning
Yeah.
pores inside of you and
Hmm.
renewing yourself. And you're going from old to gold. So it's kind of similar
Yeah.
to how God is refining you,
Hmm.
making you into this nice gem, but he has to like kill off the impurities in your
Yeah.
life.
Or hammer them out.
Mhm.
Right? Or kind of like how the clam constantly refines. It's not that they actually go away, it's just that we
Yeah.
refine them.
Yep.
If you're interested, I can point out one little area that could help with exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about. And of course, I see it from the outside perspective because we've been having this conversation and you've been explaining it to me. So if you're open to it, I could
That's
give just a little piece that might help.
absolutely. Let's hear it.
So when you went through all this pain, various defense mechanisms developed. One was taking care of other people's emotions. Another one was making yourself small. Don't be seen. This one right here is very important because what would have happened when you were younger if you had expressed your emotions? Chances are, just like you saw with your sister, it would have put you in danger. And so the defense becomes to disconnect from those emotions.
Mhm.
And they're still here. And the big part of the healing is to go into those emotions that are still there, to recognize and identify them, just like you've been doing with so many other things. And in this realm as well, but to really notice the pain that's still there, the part of you that still carries that pain, the
Yeah.
part of you that's still hurting from losing the helper or from having your mother treat your father that way. All of these situations where you were feeling tremendous pain, that part of you still carries it. Just like the part of you that still carries the anger for all the things that your mother did, it's still here. That part of you is still carrying it. So what we can do is go to that part where that emotion and that feeling still lives and comfort it and be the
Mhm.
person to say, I see you. Of course you're carrying that. Of course that's there. Come, you don't have to be alone anymore.
Right.
And this is a big part of it because and it's very difficult to see it when we're in it because that defense sees the emotion as a threat. And so then we disconnect from it default. We don't even see it. We go into the mind and there's a story or a memory or a narrative that kicks in, which are all great in the short term, but they can cause long-term harm. So in the long term, this is what we really want to focus on is coming back to those emotions, allowing ourselves to have them, comforting them, soothing them, nurturing them in all the ways and all with all the things that you needed when you went through it, trying to give ourselves that now. That's a big part of the practice. And you've got all of the mechanisms in place. It's all right there. You have all the
Mhm.
awareness. We can see it like when we were talking today, the emotions are right there.
Yep.
And yeah, one step further is, yeah, we can start to recover those, meaning that we find something that we've lost. So that's a big part of the healing right there, is to allow yourself to have that. When you're thinking about reconnecting with your mother, oh yeah, and it's bullshit that she treats me like that and she's not going to change. So I listen to that anger and I have boundaries.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on all that. You do have to you're the only one person that knows yourself truly.
Yeah,
And you're the only one person that knows what you've went through and the pain you endured. And it's because you're the only one person. You're the one that is the one that's gonna be able to help yourself.
yeah,
And like you said, I would have to go inward and hug that child that went through that pain in a
yeah.
way that I would feel it and let her know, like, "I am so sorry you went through that." Almost being the parent to that child that
Almost being the God that you're having a conversation to.
yeah, and just, like,
Yeah,
nurturing it.
yeah,
And,
absolutely.
yeah, and you kinda have to do this with, like, all areas in, like, the different traumas in anyone's life. You have to go
Precisely.
inward, and the only thing that's gonna hold you back is denial. If you cannot accept the fact that you've been traumatized or somebody has hurt you, that denial is going to just hold you back from being able to see that true freedom that you were talking about earlier.
Precisely. We learn that from somewhere, this denial
Mhm.
of your experience, and that's usually from the people who hurt us.
Right.
So when we deny our own experiences, we continue the same pattern that hurt us in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, acceptance is crucial. Carl Rogers famously said that the funny paradox is that only when I accept myself exactly as I am do I actually have the capacity to make changes.
So true.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think this world is hurting and you can see it
Hmm.
like we are hurting as a country, as a world.
Yeah.
And we, in order to make changes, we have to go inward,
And process
identify.
this pain.
Yes. Mhm.
All of these dynamics that we're seeing on a communal level, on a national level, on a global level, they're all from patterns of unhealed trauma.
Exactly. Yeah.
Every bit of it is an outward expression of the internal pain that we're carrying. So if we want to make differences, I completely agree with you. We have to go inward and take care of our own pain.
Mhm. Because you can't really help other people if if you're kinda stuck with a like a disease, and you're not fixing it.
Right.
Like, you can't help anybody because in order to help other people, you gotta recognize the patterns and you have to like go inward and take care of yourself.
Secure your mask before helping others.
Yeah, yeah, I
Because
like
if you
that.
pass out when the plane's going down, you can't help anybody out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really inspiring, and it's a great spot right there. Tell me, where can people find you if they're inspired by your story? They're really resonating with what you're talking about here. How can people find your books, your information, or anything that you're putting out there?
So my books, you can find it on like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. You could just get online. You can just find it there. But you could just follow me on like social media. I'm not the best at it, as you can see, Julia. I'm still healing. I I I'm still broken in a lot of ways, but
I, I
I
I'm gonna push back on that one real fast.
okay.
The stories that we tell ourselves are so crucial, and I don't think that you're broken in any way. You're not damaged. You're not that way of seeing yourself is, it can be very painful. You went through pain and trauma and you adapted to it in the only ways that were available to you. There's nothing about you that's damaged. There's nothing about you that's broken. All of the wisdom that knows how to heal and to be whole, it's inside of you, and you have direct access to it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So it's not that you're tainted or damaged in any way. It's just you adapted. And we're constantly recognizing those adaptations and choosing new patterns.
I'm glad you brought that up, Julian, because it is our thought patterns and the way we speak is how things become a reality for us. And so I'm glad you caught that. Um, but we really do need to just go inward and heal ourselves. And yeah, because our thoughts have power. Our tongue is this like one of the smallest muscle, but the most powerful muscle. It could either hurt us or it can inspire us and be able to do like wonderful things to inspire other people, uplift other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, we do definitely need to watch what we're speaking out and what the thoughts that we're bringing into ourselves
The way we
in our
treat
journey.
ourselves.
Hmm. In our
Yeah.
journey,
The
feeling.
relationship that we have to ourselves. This is crucial because we didn't have a lot of gentleness, a lot of joy, safety, humor when we were going through all of these patterns of pain. So now it's up to us to cultivate that internally. And if we're judging, evaluating, or criticizing ourselves, which so many people are in, and I find myself in it all the time, it's very difficult to have safety. It's very difficult to find peace when we're treating ourselves the same way that others treated us. So, yes, this relationship with ourselves is very important.
Yeah. It's definitely a learning process, and just know you're just picking up the pieces
Hmm.
and polishing yourself up because that's really important. You want to see like the awesome gem that you are, but in order to dust that off, you have to really go inward and clean a lot of the internal um, mucus,
Yeah.
so then you can be like this nice, beautiful gem.
And I
That's
mean, you already are.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Everybody has that. It's inside of all of us. And when we pull back the layers of this trauma, that's all that there is.
Hmm. So I also wrote this book not not to only help other people, but I want to try to find my family in India again.
Yeah.
So I want to reconnect with my dad because like I said, I really feel like I use the emotion of knowing what other people are going through, and it really hurts me knowing that my dad used rejection, trying to like remove the pain that he went through as a way to like cover up his feelings when he really needed to be able to hone that and understand those things happen, and there's ways that you can overcome it. And so I know like my face, and I've explained to you like it. I think my face is what really brings back the memories, and he just kind of pushed me away. So even though he doesn't want to see me, I want to do it for me because I know it's going to help him. So I'm hoping that this book will reach out to hopefully my family and my dad so then I can talk to him and let him know like he's forgiven. I don't have any like hard feelings for him. I've never really had, and that he can live like the rest of his day in peace, and hopefully that he can start his healing journey.
Yeah. Well, in all fairness, a lot of the things that happened did hurt you.
Yeah.
They did cause a lot of pain. They did cause a lot of anger, a lot of fear, a lot of shame. And of course they did. And you're allowed to have those emotions too. And you're not making it his responsibility to fix them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think I just wanna do it for him. I wanna do it for myself
Yeah,
because
that's right. You don't wanna do it for him, right? You wanna do it for you. That's what you're saying?
yes. I want because he already made up his mind he doesn't want to have me around,
Yeah,
and I think it would just bring, like, feelings up, you know, of, like,
yeah,
past traumatic experience, and he probably doesn't wanna relive it. He probably
sure.
suffocated it and doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't wanna open that jar,
Mhm,
and so I know by opening that jar up that I can help him if
mm,
he's willing to take it. But I just kinda I wanna be that instrument that gives him that opportunity. Whether he decides that he wants to do it, it's up to
yeah,
him.
yeah, that's not your responsibility.
Yeah. Yep.
You can have all the skills and tools out there, but unless he takes the steps and opens the door, there's nothing you can do. So that's
Yep.
something to be very much aware of, is
Absolutely.
you can have everything there, but he has to take the initiative and you are not responsible for it.
Mhm. And like I said, I had a big family, and it would be nice to see my family
Yeah,
in India. It would nice to see, like, oh, what their kids look like, and if any my kids kinda look like them, or even me and my sisters have, like, the different, like, similarities.
right?
So that would be a happy reunion. I would love to, like, try to find them, and that's another reason why I wrote this book is hope that I will be able to bring back that culture back that I was told to suppress and put away.
Hmm. Well, we're going to have your link in the show notes, of course. So if anybody in your family happens to listen to this, they'll have a way to get to you. And even if they don't find you through this show, with you putting all this information out there, they're like little light beacons that are
Mhm.
pulling in certain ways. And yeah, that's a beautiful
Yeah,
thing to put out there.
absolutely. I appreciate you, Julian.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate all the work you're doing too. You're doing fantastic. And to have come so far and to have reconnected with yourself so deeply in spite of all of these very big, formative, intense experiences that you have are major beacons for people who are going through something similar. So, thank you so much for putting this out there. Thank you for doing this conversation. I'm really glad that we were able to put this out in the format so people can hear it and connect with it and maybe see that there are paths available and there are choices to make and that you can liberate yourself from old patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts with us, and if each person works on it, like, the lights in the cities will be shining brighter, and it'll be worth it.
Beautiful.